Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kiersey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. A couple people asked me to do a video about a few of my favorite truck stops. So today I'm going to talk about 3 that I try to stop off at all the time, and they might surprise you that they're not the big chain stops. So we're going to talk about truck stops when we come back. When I was really new, I always looked for Petros and TAs because they are so big. I always looked for the ones that had 300 and 400 parking spaces because of the fact that at night, even at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you can usually find a few spaces in the back. Like, I think it was Oklahoma City Petro I went to when I was really new, and the whole back row, there must have been like 50 parking spaces. And I was like, oh look, there's a whole bunch of them up against each other. I can get back easy. And you know, so that taught me that I should do that. So there are places like Big Springs Flying J that used to be a Bossleman's. That's got well over 500 parking spaces. Even in the middle of winter, you can find something all the way in the back. And truckers are lazy. We don't like to walk, especially in the snow and ice. So if you're desperate for a parking space and you're afraid to back up, these are the kinds of places you're going to look for. Another one is the Pilot, which also was a Bossleman's, also in Nebraska. It's east of Big Springs, Nebraska, where the Flying J is. It's Grand Island, Nebraska. These are both on I-80. I'll put all the links below of the places that I'm discussing today, but that one is kind of cool. It has like a chiropractor, I think, and there's like a doctor and dentist office, and you know, it has a pretty good restaurant. It's a little different. I think the restaurant's called Thunder Road, and it's got like race cars and motorcycles hanging over your head, and it's got like this whole NASCAR type of racing theme to the restaurant. But again, even at 2 a.m. in the snow and ice, you can find a space all the way in the back. And Nebraska weather, it might not be mountains, but it does get extremely windy, and they have sleet storms, and so that's one of those places you want to make a note of. Another one that I just visited, and I have pictures. I have pictures. I'm going to put the pictures up. Is Ute Mountain Travel.Plaza. This is on US 491. It's about 100 miles or 120 miles north of Gallup, New Mexico. This is a route that I take a lot when I want to go across 40, go under the mountains, and then come back up like to Salt Lake City or Idaho or someplace like that. This place, what really impressed me is they have a real laundromat. I'm not talking about just like the little washers and dryers like most truck stops have, which they still have a separate trucker laundry area that's not as impressive. It's still cheaper. It's like half price of all the rest of the truck stop laundry. But this has a full laundromat that's open to the public that will have the large like 6 load washer or 4 load washer, and I think I spent, I don't know, $9 or something washing everything on the truck, including my sheets and comforters and, you know, my jackets and everything. I just shoved them all into the biggest washer they had, and even their dryers were much bigger and better because it's like a real laundromat. It was so exciting. But another thing about this place it's nice is that it has a lot of truck parking, and they're pretty much straight line back. So for a new driver, it's easy to get into. It also has another parking lot across the street. So if you pull into the fuel area and you don't see anything, across the street is another whole truck lot. They do have a hotel and a casino there as well. The showers were small, but they were newer and like renovated, and they were very clean. So because of that, those reasons, that's become one of my favorite truck stops when I wind up driving, you know, in the winter time and I'm trying to go across 40 and then north and avoid those mountains. Also on 40 is Russell's truck stop. Another place that has a very large parking lot. They also have parking across the street in a lot that I think it's Crete seems to use it as some sort of a drop lot, but nobody's going to bother you if you go and park there. I never saw any signs that said like Crete or, you know, no truck parking or anything. So the really cool thing about this, it does have a decent diner, like one of those old 50 styles diner with like the chrome chairs and like your grandmother probably had, but it has a museum, a memorabilia and car museum, which I do have a few pictures, and some of the things date back to like the Civil War, and they have like a lot of pop culture type of stuff like James Dean and Marilyn Monroe and, you know, Wizard of Oz and Elvis. But there's a lot of really old things like the old cash registers from like the turn of the century, 1900, things like that. Anyway, the cool thing about this is, in addition to all the really cool stuff, is that they don't charge for that museum. They take donations and then they use the money from the donations to go and feed local poor families. And I think that's so cool. And even if I don't have the time to stop and go through the museum, I usually always try to leave something. Because I appreciate people doing good works. Another truck stop that I really like is a Circle K, and I just went through there and I didn't take any pictures. It's a Circle K mobile in Divernon, Illinois on I-55, exit 82. I'm going to list all these links below. What I like about this place is the parking layout is really, really easy. Okay, they have pull-throughs. My friend and I both just went there last night. We followed each other, and there were like 5 pull-throughs at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. The whole back row was still empty. You can do almost a full straight line back into that back row. Next door is a mom and pop restaurant that's pretty decent. They're not open 24 hours, but it's still pretty decent. And the laundry at this place is $1.50 a cycle, which is half the price of all the TAs and Petras and Flying J's. Although Flying J, a lot of times they have the machines that allow you to use your points, your rewards points from fueling to do your laundry. But if you could use those points to buy food rather than laundry that's twice the price of someplace else, you might want to do that. Another really cool thing about both that Ute, Montana and this Divernon/Auburn, Illinois, it's funny because it's listed 2 different ways on the GPSs and the trucker path, but because you park so close, it's easier to do your laundry. So when I go to those type of places, I'll take everything off the truck at one time. And yes, I'm a woman. I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of clothes. If you've been watching my videos, you've said, like, how does she have room for all that stuff on the truck? So, you know, I take everything off at one time and I'll just wash and wash and wash, and then everything smells clean and everything's new. And, you know, it's easier than trying to lug everything across the parking lot at some of these larger chains. Parking on the Ohio Turnpike is a really cool thing too. You need a towel, but the Ohio Turnpike service plazas all have free showers. They're clean too. Just make sure you bring towels, you know, make sure you have shower shoes, because they probably don't clean after each use like you know, the Loves and the Pilots and the Petras and stuff. But, you know, when you're out here and you need parking, usually even in wintertime, you can find space there. If it's snowing and it's kind of bad, I have even parked in their fuel lane, like off to the side behind somebody, or they don't really bother you too much because they'd rather not have you out on the road. And if somebody did come out and tell you to move, it's just like, okay, well, I'll just like circle around and, you know, and park someplace else until they tell me to move. But I love running across Ohio in the winter time because I know I'm going to find parking, and they have food courts, so they'll have like 3 or 4 different restaurants, including like Starbucks and Annie Ann's and you know, there's a few different like Einstein Brothers Bagels and Panera, and there's a few like pizza places, Italian places, that kind of thing, Sbarro's. There's a truck stop in Missouri that's Midwest Travel.Plaza. It's in Cuba, Missouri on I-44. I think it's about exit 205. That one has like 400 parking spaces, but it's a gravel lot for most of it, so you don't have lines, so it's kind of easier to get into. There are some pull-throughs, and right next door is a blue beacon. So if you need to get washed out as a reefer driver, that's important. They do have clean showers. There is a mom and pop restaurant in there. I've eaten there a couple times. The food's okay. Desserts are usually kind of good, which is something I'm trying to avoid. So I haven't been going there lately. There's one that's on the sign, it says Petro 2, but it goes by a different name, and I'll put the link down below. I'll put it in the video, even I'll write it on top of the video. But it's in Minnesota, and it is phenomenal. It's got this huge bakery where they make their own breads. They even make their own salad dressings. I've bought the salad dressings and taken them home. When you walk in, they've got this forest of trees that are shellacked, and it's fake leaves and everything, but it feels like you're walking through a forest. And when you go into the restaurant, you're sitting on the tables that are all wooden and shellacked, and my chair was made out of a tree stump where the actual stump bark was still on there, but it was all shellacked, and the trees are like giving you shade. And the first time I went there, the waitress came up and she had samples of their salad dressing, and when I tell you the salad dressing was good, it was spicy, it had different flavors. I wound up buying the horseradishes and the salad dressings and taking them home to my mother because it was really cool. They were really good. And they have this really cool love seat that's like chiseled out from the tree stump, and then it comes up. More picture time. So that's one. In Morris, Illinois, there's a TA that I think is a little neat, that it has a bakery and a restaurant. The baked goods are pretty good looking. I never tried them, but they did have really good soup. I was sick when I was there, and they have really good soup. But I like to see things that are different. So this one had some antiques on display, including this huge, it looked like this huge hutch, like a bedroom set would be. It's like 6 feet high and probably 7 feet or 8 feet long, and it had little dancing marionettes, and the thing's got to be 150 years, well, probably 120 years old. But like, it was one of those things that if you put the coin in, the marionettes would dance, and they don't let you do that anymore. But just to see it and see the woodwork and, you know, like the artistry and the construction is just amazing. And I really like places like that. Sometimes you really get tired of all the big chains. The Loves and the Pilots look like this. And, you know, it's really hard for a new person to try to get into places like that. And when I was new, I was afraid to go to non-chains because I thought that I wouldn't be able to find parking, or that the parking would be too hard. And so I was afraid. But what I found out is that if you go on the Google satellite, like Google Maps satellite view, and you could see the parking, and then you go on Trucker Path and you look at the history, because it'll say like lot full. If you see a place, even if it's an unknown, then, and it has a lot of greens and yellows and not a lot of reds, there's a good chance that you're gonna find parking there. Now, does that mean you're gonna find a free shower there? No, absolutely not. But, you know, when you're new, at least when I was new, I was more concerned about parking and not being afraid to park, not being afraid to back up and hit somebody. That was my concern. You know, the shower I can get in the middle of my shift during the day, but the backing is something that you have to do. At one point, you're gonna have to park that truck, and that can be really scary for a new person. So, that's just a few of the places that I really like to use. Another one, it used to be White's Truck Stop. Now it's Petro in Raphine, Virginia on I-81, and I believe that's exit 205. That's a really good one. It's huge. If you go all the way in the back, look on the satellite view, because when you're brand new and you're coming in at night, it's kind of confusing. You got to make a right and go around the building and around the fuel pumps. But that actually has a medicine shop in there, a real pharmacy. So you can find full size, you know, like soaps and full size, any kind of toiletry items rather than the little bottles. And it is a real pharmacy, so if you needed any kind of medication. They also do have a food court with, like, I think Dunkin' Donuts and Popeyes and a few others. They have t-shirts and stuff that you can buy in, you know, a store like that. So that is one. And amazingly enough, there is a blue beacon in there, but amazingly enough, because it's so big, it has this little jitney bus that will come around and pick you up and take you to the main building, so you don't have to walk, which in the wintertime, that's really cool. So I hope that helps you. When I come up with more, I'll make another video. So please like, comment, subscribe. Comment below with what your favorite truck stop is and why, and then put the link so that we can all share it. And maybe, you know, if I get enough people doing that, then I'll make another video about them. So until then, I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.